Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday once again, and you know what that means. It's time for Orbit. Yay! Yay. So, this week, rolling solo once more. Honestly, only reason why I'm rolling solo is because I completely slept almost in all day yesterday. I was doing a lot of work just on various life stuff yesterday, and I just passed out, fell asleep, completely forgot to get smooth on here for the podcast. Didn't wake up. I fell asleep at like 4 or 5 p.m. Didn't wake up until like 11 o'clock at night. And at that point, I'd completely forgotten to get smooth on board for the podcast, but completely forgot to send this week's topic. But hey, you know what? It's fine because of the fact that Sony dropped us off a little surprise today. All right. Well, not today, but they dropped it off yesterday. They showed us off the PlayStation 5 user interface. Finally. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the UI, not just of the PS5, but also of the Xbox Series X. You know, I got to talk about the Xbox Series X. And we'll touch briefly on the Nintendo Switch's UI, but very, very briefly because there's not much to talk about. So let's discuss it. First thing that you're going to notice about the UI, and I have it pulled up next to me just as a point of reference when I'm looking at it. And the first thing that you're going to notice about it is going to be the sort of, I guess, design language, for lack of a better term. When it starts off, you see this sort of spotlight with these particles floating around, and it says press the PlayStation button on your controller. And really, I don't like it. I don't like it. Where's the blue? You know, where's the blue? What's with the spotlight thing? I'm not feeling the spotlight. I'm not. Hopefully, maybe you can change that, customize it, make it whatever you want. It's a small nitpick. It's a small, little issue on my part. It's not a big deal, but I don't like the sparkles. I like the blue. I like the on PS two when you had like that cloudy sort of wavy sort of thing going on, and I liked on PS3 where you had the waves in the background, and I liked on PS4 when it was just blue. I like blue. Everybody likes blue, right? So moving on from that, the next thing they showed off in the breakdown was this whole entire what did they call the control panel or the control pad or something like that. And it's actually a pretty darn cool addition to Sony's console here. It's something that you pull up, assumedly with the I assume that you do it with the press of a button. I think that's what they said. So you pull it up, and it's sort of like basically, it's kind of like the same thing as the Xbox Dash, but it gives you information a little bit. Mm, I don't want to say better. It's like, because when I compare it to the Xbox Dash, because people who know me know that I love the Xbox Dash, and I love that what they do when you pull up the little sidebar on it, and you have pretty much all your options. You don't have to leave your game. You can still have your game up, but you have all the options. You can pretty much go anywhere from your console from that menu without having to go all the way back to the home menu and navigate and find it like you had to on the PS4. I love that stuff, and I love that on the Series X they're keeping it simple. They're not giving you a whole new UI to learn. They're like, look, we've been working on this UI forever. There's no need to change it, no need to make it into a whole new big thing. But they're doing very, very different things. And so when you look at it from the bottom, you can see that there's the home option where you can go home. There is your profile. There's notifications, what appears to be a party chat system. There's a music tab. So I'm wondering how the music tab is going to play into this. And Sony really hasn't said much. They haven't said a whole lot about this. It was a very short video. Video is only about 12 minutes. But there's music, there's audio options, microphone options, there's controller settings, and there is well, of course, there's the game. That's all the way over there, your profile and the power button, and that's all fine, right? That's all standard issue stuff. What I like about this as an improvement over the PS4's menu system is that now it seems like I don't necessarily have to go to all the way back to the home menu to load up some particular information, right? So what you can see is that, from watching it, is that it appears that there's new updates on things that are going on in your gaming community from the menu. There's your recent screenshots, you've got progress and trophies, etc., etc. And all that stuff is displayed right there in big tiles, and you can jump to it as you see fit, as you need to. And another cool thing that they've added onto there is that you have this ability um, to check and look at hints. If you're a PlayStation Plus member, you have access to these hints about the games. And I think that's an interesting feature. It's not something that I would use because like I'm the type of person where I hate using guides. I like to figure things out for myself, but I think that's an awesome feature for people, who might, because I know like in a lot of games, and there's a lot of instances where, there's a game that I don't particularly care about, like, hey, uh, figuring everything out myself, where sometimes I just like to play a game and just like to be like, like, okay, where's this? And it's nice that these trophies this new system can, provide you a little video. Now, my question with this is how many developers are actually going to support this? I can't imagine this is going to be a mandatory thing, right? I can surely expect that Sony's first party developers are going to be doing stuff like this, but I can't imagine every third party developer is going to be utilizing this feature. I'm sure some of them will, especially the early adopters of the PlayStation technology will. And these are just little hints that can show you, just like if you're stuck at a part in the game, you can have a little hint that'll help you, figure things out in the game. And I believe these hints are linked to objectives within the game. I'm not sure if these are, it looks like they're objectives within the game. But when this sidebar is pulled up, it says total progress 33%. And I wonder if that means, like, is that trophies? Are these trophies, or are these, like, like I'd assume these are trophies, but if these are just in-game objectives that you can have like a little, the PlayStation help you out while you're playing, that's pretty cool. And I believe there was a patent a long time ago where Sony was testing some sort of technology where it would provide you hints or whatever, but back then the patent was discussing more so the aspect of offering people, I guess, microtransactions. And I know that's like the most dangerous word on the planet to a gamer nowadays is microtransactions, but it was sort of like, hey, if you're playing like a big game, and you're having a struggle with, I don't know, a boss, or you're playing like an MMO or something like that, hey, here goes this loot box or this weapon pack that might be able to help you. Or look, I don't know the details. All right, I'm just spitballing here. Let's move on. So there is that little hint system. I think that's cool for people who might need it. Like, just because I personally don't use it doesn't mean that it's useless. And also, something very, very cool is that you have this sort of picture-in-picture thing where it can reduce the size of your screen. I believe you can also pin these types of things to the side of your screen, and just sort of have a picture-in-picture thing where you can play the game and sort of watch the video at the same time. Or at least that's what's possible with your friend's content. So if you're playing along with a friend, and by the way, they show off a little bit of, how to join a party chat or whatever. Pretty simple stuff. Same as always. Nothing really major has changed here. Party chat, it's like you can't really reinvent the wheel with that. You just join the party and you're in. But what's cool is that you can do the watch and share screen thing. And this is something that was really promised on PS4, but it's a feature that really went underused a lot in PS4. And I'm assuming and I'm hoping that with PlayStation 5, you can have it so that you and your friend have a lot less latency between you, a lot less lag between you when you're playing in games. And I really could imagine that being a great feature to play with friends, because if you guys watch Party After Dark, the stream that we do here on the channel, me and Smooth and Josh, they're the main guys who I usually play with. We were recently playing Super Mario 3D All Stars, and we were just playing it sort of simultaneously, all sort of doing our own different kind of thing in it, but playing the game at the same time over Discord. And it would have been awesome if I could see what they were doing. I mean, of course, they could see what I was doing because I was the one streaming it, but it would be cool if I could see what they were doing. So I could see that being a feature that we would use, even though I don't think they're going to be investing in next gen consoles, at least just yet. I think that of the three of us who, are on Party After Dark, I think that I'm the only one who's really getting a next gen console at launch. But following after that, we see this interesting tidbit where just the loading times, I had to take a pause because, like, the loading times when they were switching into Destruction All Stars from Little Big Planet, it's insane. It's insane. You got to get that first glimpse of switching between games. And I think that it's really, really awesome. And then after that, they sped up the footage. But I believe that the portion where they switched games, where they switched over and talked about Destruction All Stars, I believe that was live, live game switching. And I could believe it because in um, the SSD in the PlayStation 5 is monstrous in terms of speed, which is amazing. And then they talk about a little bit about the share features. Look, folks, it's nothing really crazy. I mean, like, again, it's not like you can really reinvent the wheel here with sharing features. There's not much that you can do about it. It's all pretty much going to be the same thing. Like, hey, take a screenshot, record something, record the last 3 minutes, let's broadcast it, whatever, right? So there's so much to talk about, and then they finally show you the home menu, and my first, after the portion with Destruction All Stars, they finally show you the home menu, and I gotta say, at first glance, I'm not a fan of the home menu at all as it stands right now. At first glance, it reminded me of the XMB from PS3, but that was just my nostalgia goggles kicking in. Don't quote that. Don't take that as this is the same thing as XMB. It's not. It doesn't look like it. What it looks like to me is it looks like they took the PS4 UI, they made the icons smaller, moved them to the top of the screen, and then they had this and this is something that I like. This is something that I like that Sony's doing, is the fact that just like on PS3, and this is something that goes back to PS3, when you highlight a game, it fills the entire screen with artwork, and I think there's like just in some games there's probably going to be music and maybe like some animation that plays, but I like that because that's something that I missed from the PS3 days, was that sort of I don't know, there's that launch pad kind of thing where it's like it would load up that big sprawling scene, and it just looked cool. It just looked cool. It's a cosmetic thing. Yeah, I know. But it looks cool, and I like stuff that looks cool. Who doesn't like stuff that looks cool? Am I right? And another thing that you can take from watching this is just the speed at which it brings up the information. If you PS4 users out there, remember the PS4's menu could be slow as a slug at times. It could be painfully slow, but the PS5's menu seems to be extremely smooth and snappy, at least from what they're showing us here. It seems like when you're switching between games, when you're scrolling down and looking at stuff, looking at, activities, looking at news, looking at whatever, it just seems so smooth and so quick. And I believe that is 100% thanks to the SSD. Also, another little side bit is that the menu's in 4K, which is nice. I'm not sure if the Series X's menu is in 4K. I mean, like, honestly, and it's funny because I've seen people like on Twitter making fun of Xbox for not having a 4K menu, but so I mean, for me personally, like, it is something that I noticed on PS4 Pro, where PS4 Pro, I believe, has a I think the PS4 Pro's menu is 4K. I think the PS4 Pro's menu is 4K because it always looked crisper to me than the Xbox One's menu, the Xbox One X's menu to be more precise. But at the end of the day, though, that doesn't change anything. It's just a menu. I just thought I'd mention that because I thought it was pretty funny. Because console war people will argue about anything, even the resolution of the home menu. Um, but everything seems much quicker, much smoother. Looking at it, and from a glance, because that's all we can really take from it is just the from a glance stuff. It seems like it's pretty much standard fare. All of it seems like exactly what you got before on PlayStation 4. Like, it just looks different. It's the same basic functionality. It just looks different. And that's my biggest gripe with this UI. My biggest gripe with the UI is that it's pretty much the same thing. There's no, even with the command center little thing that they have, there's no way for me to quickly jump back into the game that I was just playing. I know that I can go back to the home menu and then select the game from there, but I don't know. It just feels much snappier when I'm on my Xbox and I'm playing a game. Then I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll switch games. And I press the home button. The sidebar comes up. I can see the last several apps that I use and just click the game that I was playing before and switch over to that. It's just a lot quicker to me. It's a lot easier. And even still, with the command center, it doesn't seem like there's a quicker way to get to your library. Whereas on the Xbox's UI, there's a quick way to get to your library. I don't have to even look at the home menu. I can bypass that completely. And really, it's just about cutting out the middleman, making it as smooth as possible to get to get to where you want to go. Honestly, I can say this. Most of the time on my Xbox, I never even look at the home menu because I'm either jumping from a game to another game, or I'm jumping from my game to my apps, or I'm jumping from my game straight to store. I usually don't even have to touch the home menu, and that's something I'm kind of disappointed about with the PlayStation 5's UI, is that I wish they would have implemented those features. I wish they would have implemented that level of sort of seamless transition, cutting out the middleman of having to go back to the home menu. At the end of the day, though, I've had my PS4 for several years now, and it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal in general, because the PS4's menu, while it is pretty slow at times with certain things, getting to the store is always pretty quick. Getting to my library is always pretty quick. But I will say the Xbox, I just like the way that they do it better. You cut out the middleman. You don't have to go back to the home menu. You just pull up the sidebar, or in Sony's case, you would pull up the command center and go to your games and apps, go to the last game you played, go, wherever you want to go without having to come all the way back to the home menu. And really, that's about all I have to say here. I mean, they didn't show off too much. They didn't talk about too much. They didn't explain too much, which is typical for Sony. For some reason with the PS5, they only like to drip feed us information, even though the console is like a month away. They're drip feeding us, drip feeding us information. We're not getting hardly anything from them. And it is a little annoying. It's a little annoying. It's a little frustrating. But you know what? At the end of the day, whatever. Um, the console still looks great. The games they're providing still look great. I still got one pre-ordered. Doesn't really matter. So, man, what next? That was a mouthful. Yeah, that was a mouthful. Last thing I will say about the PS5 menu before I move on is that the games and media have been separated. They haven't showed us what the media tab is going to look like just yet, but they have shown us that they've separated the games and media tabs from each other. So, I'm just saying, they separated them, and I'm not sure what that means. One of my biggest issues, the reason why I mentioned that, I should say, is one of my biggest issues with the the PS4's menu, sorry, is that navigating to my entertainment apps was just a pain in the ass as compared to the Xbox, where, again, if I was watching Netflix before I jumped on to, Division 2, I can just click the button, scroll to Netflix, and boom, I'm back in Netflix. Whereas with the PS4, I have to click the home button, go to the navigate and find the media thing, go into the media app, wait for that shit to load. It takes forever sometimes. Find Netflix in that mess of shit, and then click on that, and it's really, really annoying. But, now let's talk about the Xbox's UI briefly. Briefly. Let's briefly talk about it. There's not much to say. Microsoft is very much going for an if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing here. And more power to them. I actually like that. I really, really like that aspect of it. Now, there is sort of that aspect of, like you when you get a new console, you kind of want a new experience to come with it. And Microsoft has done that sort of with, introducing what they described it on Twitter as the UX. I, I don't I don't even know what that means, right? Because UI stands for user interface. So what does UX stand for? User X? That doesn't make any sense. But I don't care. They kept it simple. They've just been tweaking and working on the same UI for years. People who have it are familiar with it. And the changes that they've made recently have all been very, very well received by the community. Everybody's been very positive about them. Me, myself, I've been loving them. I've been living with some of these features for a while now already because I'm a part of one of the Xbox Insider rings. And I've been telling my friends, I'm like, hey, you can't, once you get these features, it's going to be awesome. Once you get these features, you're going to really see that Microsoft has been working extremely hard to make sure that the Xbox UI is great and pretty much perfect. And I think that it is great, and it is a nearly perfect UI. I can't imagine how they can make it better. That's all I'll say about it. Um, I'm not going to go into explaining all of how Microsoft's UI has been, all of how it is, because it's been generally the same way for quite some time now. Um, but I will say that I really like what both companies have done with their UIs. Even though I wish Sony did more, I think that this is a step in a better direction than what the PS4 was offering with its UI. I just don't think it's as big of a step as we need it. Um, and I said I was going to mention the Nintendo Switch's UI briefly. Oh my God, Nintendo! I love you to death. Love you to death. I love you to death, Nintendo. I love you. I love you so much, Nintendo. I really do. I love Nintendo games. You know, without a doubt. Um, but Jesus Christ, guys. You gotta do better. You gotta do better. Like the Nintendo UI is a joke compared to the PlayStation's UI and the Xbox's UI. It's an absolute joke. That's all I can really say. There's been these rumors and these rumblings about them possibly releasing a quote unquote new Nintendo Switch, and I mean new as in like the same new as the new 3DS, etc. But yeah, they really need to overhaul their UI and their online experiences uh really badly. So from here, I think that's about it. I think that's about all I can say, really. I just wanted to give my impressions quickly on the PlayStation 5's user interface. Honestly, I don't have much to say about the Xbox's user interface at this point because it's kind of like how I feel about the Xbox's user interface is like it's kind of like describing to somebody, I don't know, like I don't know, like how to put on a pair of pants. You know what I mean? It's like I've been using it for so long. Like, I've been wearing pants for so long that it's just like it's like how do I just how was that a process that I describe? Like how can I describe using this? Like I'm so used to it, right? Or it's kind of like I guess like describing how to ride a bike to somebody is a better analogy. I don't know why I said the pants thing. That was kind of weird, but it's kind of like describing to somebody how to ride a bike. It's just like if I couldn't do that personally. I don't know if you can, but pretty much for me, it's just like you just get on, you pedal. That's how I feel about the Xbox's UI. You just boot it up and you go. It's so simple, it's so snappy, and it's so intuitive. And I've been using it for so long. Like I've known how to ride a bike for so long. I've been using this UI for so long. It's really hard to describe. So I guess much like last week's video, I have more to say about PlayStation than I do about Xbox. But that's mainly because Xbox's information and the stuff about Xbox has been out for longer. So I've had more time to digest it. I don't have any hot takes about it because it's been, in my ecosystem. Yeah, let's go with that. It's been in my ecosystem, in my atmosphere for far too long. It's not really much to say. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Sony, this don't look like a fix, but it's a step in the right direction. It definitely looks nice. It definitely looks nice, but it's just not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for Sony to really go in more of an Xbox direction, especially because of the fact that, well, and I said I was done, but I got one more thing to say. I got one more thing to say before I go. There's just more information displayed at one time on Microsoft's Xbox dashboard at a glance than there is on Sony's menu at a glance. At a glance, when I turn this thing on, there's just more information displayed on the Xboxes, and I think that's a big issue for me. I think that is a big issue, is the fact that there is not a lot of information that you're going to be getting right from the get go. There is this sort of, explore page where it shows you, some new news and whatever, blah, 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 whatever. But on Microsoft's console, there's just more information in your face. You can see the last couple of games that you played. You have your games and apps. You have the last game you played, and a list of all the last couples of software that you played, along with the disc that's inserted in your console. You have your games and apps. You have this. You have this. There's so much information all at once. It shows you the deals and special promos going. Like, there's just more information. You turn on the Xbox and there's just a bunch of information in your face. Sony went with a much more conservative, much more flashy, much more visually appealing design, and I like that. But when it comes to function, when it comes to everything, it's like I said last week, folks. It seems to me like there's like a 90. Last week I think I said there was a 98% chance that Microsoft's Xbox Series X would be my primary console. I think we can bump that up to like a 99.5% chance that it's going to be my primary system, because it's just you know the user experience appeals to me much more. I'll say that. I'm not gonna say one's better than the other. I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that the user experience on Xbox appeals to me way more. But this does look very beautiful. I really do like the way it looks. I really like the fact that it's in 4K. It's much faster. It's much looks much I suppose cleaner. But there's just less information at a glance, and that's my issue. There's less information being displayed here. That's my big takeaway from this. Um, but yeah, of course, let me know what you guys think. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up for this week. Next week, I can't even promise that I'm going to have a guest next week, because I've got a ton of things. I got like 1,000,003 things to do next week. I mean, this weekend and the coming weeks is tons of personal life stuff going on. So I'm not even sure. I'll definitely be here, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to get a guest on to talk about things. I might have my brother come on to talk about, some more video game related stuff, because I mean, as we're sitting, folks, we're just weeks away from these new consoles. But I'll definitely try and have a guest next week. I'll try and come up with a topic. But as always, folks, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Everybody stay safe out there. Be good. And we'll see you all next Friday with more Orbit. Bye. Bye. Bye.